Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Jaya Nitai Gauranga Jaya Nitai Gauranga Nitai Gauranga Gaura Hari Jai Sachinandan Jai Sachinandan Jai Sachinandan Gaura Hari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Rama Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare ISKCON Pratishtacharya Srupabhargi Kashishinidai Gaudishidanata Pramanandi Hari Hari Bhu Mukham Kardati Bhachalam Pangam Langate Girim Jatkripatamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has arrived in Ramkeli and he's attracted the attention of the Nawab, and the Nawab sent his constable to evaluate the situation. The constable returned and gave a description of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu which was so beautiful that it changed the heart of the Nawab, even though he is recorded historically and by Kaviraj Goswami as being a terrorist against the thousands of temples in Orissa were destroyed. But this person he gave declaration that no one should interfere with the travels, pastimes, activities, speeches of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then subsequently he discussed with Rupa Goswami. We were mentioning how the ministers of the Nawab were Hindus because they were qualified intellectually, managerially. The Goswamis, Nana Shastra Bicharanaika Nipono, Nana Shastra Bicharanaika Nipono. They were, actually Rupa Goswami was already writing books even before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came. There's some books that he's already written in Sanskrit. And they were learned. Rupa Goswami, they learned actually from Vidya Bachaspati, the brother of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. So they were so learned. They were already practicing Bhagavad Bhakti. However, we'll hear when they introduce themselves to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, their humility, which is so extraordinary. They're actually Rupa, the Goswamis, Rupa and Sanatan, they're brothers, Rupa and Sanatan. The other Goswamis are connected. The family is from South India, Karnataka. And his grandfather or great-grandfather like that, they migrated to Bengal, Noihati, and then Joshore district, currently East Bengal, Bangladesh, Joshore district. We have our Rup Sanatan Shriti Tirtha there, ISKCON, Joshore. Rup Sanatan Shriti Tirtha, just not far from the birthplace of Rupa and Sanatan Goswami. And they were recruited by the Nawab and the government. They were given names. Shakar Malik, the Sanatan Goswami, Sanatan Goswami elder. Shakar Malik, he was Home Minister, Minister of Finance, whole of Bengal. And Dabir Kash, still if you Google Dabir Kash, it's still an honorific title in Islam. Theocratic, hierarchical structures. Theocratic hierarchical structures, that's quite a mouthful, huh? Theocratic hierarchical structures. In other words, the way they designed their government based on religious principles. Dabir Kash, you can still Google Dabir Kash, they still use that title. So they are very close, you could say, you understand, they're very intimate, they're very, very, very dependable, reliable, confident assistants of the Nawab, the Emperor of Bengal, what positions they had. And as you can imagine, they were endowed with all of the facilities that such a position in the government would bestow upon one. You could imagine the facilities that they had, right? They're intimate acquaintances with the Nawab, with the Sultan of Bengal, who he trusts them. And later you'll hear subsequently Sanatan Goswami, how upset, how disturbed the Nawab was when Sanatan Goswami refused to manage the kingdom in his absence while he was out in the front lines conquering Orissa. And he wanted Sanatan Goswami to actually manage the kingdom. Just see how reliable, how confident these brothers were. Now, hearing from his chief constable, also the Nawab, he called Rupa Goswami. He also discussed with Rupa Goswami. The first person he discussed was Keshav Chand, and he says, oh, no, it's not a big deal. He's just a poor mendicant going from a few followers. And the Nawab argued, no, how can you call him poor? He's the owner of all opulence. How can you call him poor? That's an offense, he said. That's an offense. He said, just look at this person. He said, tens of thousands of people are following him at their own expense. And if I neglect to pay my staff for 1 month, that's it, there would be a mutiny. So this person must be the supreme controller. That which the Hindus call Bhagwan, and the Mughals call Khoda. That person here. So then he called Rupa Goswami, and Rupa Goswami says, Jai tomar rajya dilo, Jai tomar Goshai, tomar desh, tomar bhagya janmilo, ashai, that your country has become blessed because this person has appeared in this land where you are the emperor, and thus blessed your whole kingdom. Raja kohe, and the Nawab replied to Rupa Goswami, Raja kohe, shuno mora mone jai lai, what is my opinion? Shakhat ishar ihan nahika shangsha. I have no doubt that this person is directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So then that's the end of the discussion with the Nawab. Sometimes it's asked, why Mahaprabhu didn't strategize, and what can we say? Mahaprabhu, he dealt with other Mogul leaders, actually. There's other Mogul leaders of other regions where he met and preached to them and converted them to Krishna consciousness. But he didn't further pursue interaction with the Nawab. So that very night, we don't hear more about the Nawab, that's it. That very night, Rupa and Sanatana Goswami, in the middle of the night, they decided to go and visit Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. As I showed you the pictures this morning, our ISKCON center is there. Perhaps 100 meters is all of those monuments where the palace was and where the assembly hall and all of those things where the discussion was going on. It's just a few 150 meters, not far. And another 100 meters the other direction is the actual, this Tamal tree is there. I showed the picture this morning of Mahaprabhu, the place where Rupa and Sanatana met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In other words, where Mahaprabhu was camped. The place where Mahaprabhu was actually camped. Because he was there for several days. So he was camped there, and they had the camp. Now there is a temple there, Madan Mohan temple, installed deities of Sanatana Goswami, installed and worshipped there at that place. And that's that temple, Goswami temple, and the priests there are very favorable to ISKCON. We have our book table right in the temple courtyard. It's not so frequented, that temple. You'll go there, you'll be the only ones there. A few people come. Yeah, it's amazing that such a place is such an extraordinary place, but it's hardly there's signposts on the highway. Even for the Mogul students of Mogul culture, but of course it's all government protected, is all signs and everything, and maintained by the government, but still it's not so well known. Ram Kelly and what remains there from when Mahaprabhu visited there. We're reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita now. We're reading from Madhya Lila, text chapter 1, text 180. I don't think you need to put it there though. It's no need, just keep it blank. Some verses from here, some verses from Chaitanya Bhagavata, people, you can't follow. Ard ratre dhuibai oilo prabhusthane pratam mililo nitananda haridash shane. So ard ratre, in the middle of the night, incognito, because they didn't want to create a sensation. Could you imagine that the Home Minister of India and the Finance Minister come to the temple, or the state minister, the chief minister of Telangana, this is Telangana, chief minister of Telangana comes and falls down at the lotus feet of Chaitanya Avatar Prabhu. Everybody laughing, this is serious matter. Falls down at the lotus feet of Chaitanya Avatar Prabhu and requests that guide me in how to help liberate all of the citizens in my state. Chaitanya Avatar, he gives advice, stop all the slaughterhouses, stop all of the places of intoxication, brothels, and stop all the gambling. Harinam Sankirtan in all the industrial complexes, in all the shopping malls, 2 times fasting a month. He's got it all listed there, it's all ready to go. He's just waiting for the chief minister to come. In any case, it would be a big sensation. It would be all over the news. There would be thousands of reporters with their microphones and interviewing the chief minister, chasing after the Chaitanya Avatar. Guruji, what advice have you given the chief minister? So they came in the middle of the night. in order to not attract attention, in order to not further put any risk on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his traveling, and they went in the middle of the night. And first they met Nityananda Prabhu and Haridas Thakur. So then Nityananda Prabhu and Haridas Thakur, they went and they brought Rupa and Sanatan into the presence of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's very interesting, this description. These personalities, they're Nitya Siddha, Gaurangi Rashangi Gone, Nitya Siddha, Korimane. They're eternal associates. Whenever, just like Arjuna and Krishna, he appears whenever Krishna appears, sometimes in different forms. Ramananda Roy, Arjuna. Bhavananda Roy, that's Bhavananda Roy, he's Pandu. Right? So they appear in different forms. So Rupa, they're intimate servants of Sri Radhika, eternal, Mukta, Nitya Mukta, the Gopi Shakis. Rupa Manjari, the special intimate associates of Sri Radhika, and they took birth in Bengal just to associate with Gauranga in his pastimes of spreading the Sankirtan movement, and Rupa Goswami took such a responsibility in the Sankirtan movement, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So now the first meeting. So we'll hear about this interaction. Mono diye shuno bhai, Sri Chaitanya Kotar. Listen attentively, brothers and sisters. Sri Chaitanya Kotar, to the descriptions of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Jai Jai Leela Koilo Bhakta Shange Jotha Jotha. The pastimes he performed one after another with his associates as they happened are being described. Dui Guchatrina Duhi Darshan Dariya Gola Bastra Bandi Pode Dandavad Hoya. They came and they fell down at the lotus feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with a cloth bound around their neck. A cloth bound around their neck. And Danta Trina Dhori, with grass in their teeth. Grass in their teeth. And then they fell down and then they got up and began offering prayers. We can learn. Of course, when we come before the deity, we offer prayers. The great Vaishnava, we can learn how to interact with the great Vaishnava in this interaction. Jai Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Doyamoy Potit Pavan Jai Jai Mahashai. Potit Pavan, deliverer of the fallen, a great personality, Mahashai, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Doyamoy. Doyamoy. Here we have in a temple here, Anandamoy Prabhu, Doyamoy. Krishna Boro Doyamoy. We know, you know what it means? We sing every day, Doyamoy, Chinmoy, Anandamoy, means full of. Doyamoy, he's full of mercy. Doyamoy, full of mercy. Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Doyamoy. And then Sanatana Goswami speaks. Don't try and find this verse because it's from a different section, but Sanatana Goswami is explaining his position. We often see devotees, even ourselves, we do. We come before the great soul and then we're ready with the list of all of the things, all of the credits. All of our credits, yes. I'm chanting 16 rounds now for a year. And my wife is chanting and we're offering the bhoga. And we visit the temple and we go at Narottam Priya Prabhu for book distribution. All of the credits, that's it. So these persons, they're so exalted. And they introduce themselves to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's the complete opposite. Niche Jati, Niche Shangi, Potit Odom, Kubi Shai Kupe, Goinanu Janam. Goinanu Janam, our lives have been wasted. From birth we were low, Niche Jati. We have a low birth, Niche Shangi, and we're associating with low class people. Actually, Rupa and Sanatana were expelled from the Brahminical society. For this reason, you may know that Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami never entered the temple of Lord Jagannath. Because they felt themselves unqualified, having given up their occupation as Bharatvaj Brahmins and engaged in the government and became the assistants of the Mughal rulers. And they considered themselves Nicha Shongi. We're associating with low class, Nicha Shongi. Potit Odom. Potit, we're fallen, Odom, we're the lowest. Ku Bishai Kupe. Ku Bishai Kupe. The Bishai Kupe means the well of sense enjoyment. Ku Bishai Kupe, extreme. Goinanu Jonom, we've wasted our lives in the extremely embedded deeply in the well of sense enjoyment. Now we just, in ISKCON we say that, oh Prabhu, I'm the most fallen. I am not qualified. We say that. In ISKCON you have to speak like that. But actually we don't think that. We don't think that. We don't think we're the most fallen. We think the people outside, they're more fallen. Or at least we get up, go to the temple, chant Hare Krishna, take prasadam. We don't think we're the most fallen. But actually, Sanatana Goswami, he's thinking that. It's not that he's just saying that. He believes that. It's actually Uttam. It's an Uttam platform. He's thinking we're the most fallen. And therefore we're ashamed to introduce ourselves to you. We're ashamed to introduce ourselves to you. And Prabhupada makes some very important comments here. He says that they're from the most respectable Brahmin family of Karnataka, but being associated with the Mughal government service, their customs, their behavior resembled those of the Mughals. One becomes abominable by adopting an abominable profession, or by associating with people who are naturally abominable. Because they were employed by the Mughals, their original habits degenerated into those of the Mughal community. And the symptoms of Brahminical culture were almost nil, and they had identified themselves with the lower class. So Prabhupada is mentioning here the seriousness of association. The greatest authority in the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, if he's considering he's wasted his time, he'd become fallen in the material world. So this is example how dangerous it is in this material world. How dangerous. We get swept away by association and become compromised. It's very Tadera charana shevi bhakta shonebash janame janami hoy ay abilash. Therefore Narottama Mahashahi Singh said, Janame janami hoy, life after life. Let it be Tadera charana shevi, those who are engaged in the service of the six Gosamis, Tadera charana shevi bhakta shonebash, to reside with those devotees. Bhakta shonebash, to live with those devotees, to sit beside those devotees. Janame janami hoye yabilash. I desire this life after life. Well, I desire this to be life after life. And in that way that we should pray, we should desire this. At least we pray that we can have the association of Prabhupada's followers, always. If we can be in the association of the genuine followers of Srila Prabhupada, then there is hope for us. Just being in their association, that will deliver us. May be quickly, maybe slowly, but by their association, we'll be delivered. Sangat sanjayate kama. And of course, if you seek association, if you enhance your association, dadati, pratigunati, guyamakyati prichati, bhungte bojayate. If you take intimate association, then the effect is much quicker. If you take intimate association. I remember I was a young devotee in Melbourne, and there was one brahmachari, he was leaving brahmachari ashram. And so I was just new. I think I just put on saffron cloth. And then he said, these sannyasis are coming, and the brahmacharis, they should serve the sannyasis. I didn't know anything about sannyasis, brahmacharis. Brahmacharis should serve the sannyasi. Okay. So then the sannyasi came, and he said, you go to the room and you introduce yourself and you do all the seva. I did that. I took diksha from that sannyasi, because we were able to develop a close relationship as a result of the seva. So that was very wonderful. And then I was thinking that, yeah, you can do for all the sannyasis. Tamal Krishna Maharaj came to the temple. Come on, Tamal Krishna Maharaj. Such an entourage of assistants. Entourage, and everything organized in advance. From Prabhupada's time, he was immaculate manager. So everything's organized. Who's cooking, who's this and that, everything organized. No question of getting some. And I just went up to his room, I think 3:45 in the morning, knocked on the door. I said, Maharaj, temple, anything you need. He was very impressed. He was very impressed that I just came to the room. And from then we had relationship. And he was always kind and affectionate to me. We had relationship. We went out of our way. Shushrusha, Bhajana Vigyan, Ananda Ninda, Nindari Shunya, Ipshita Shanga Labdha. Ipshita Shanga Labdha. Your desire, Ipshita Shanga Labdha. You have to desire to get that association. You have to seek it out. You have to put yourself in a situation where you'll get a good association. Not that, when it comes, oh, that's great. Hey, Guru Maharaj, how are you? How you going? Long time no see. Hey, happened to just pass you. We were in the elevator. Hey, Guru Maharaj. Right, my good fortune. No, you go and you seek it out. You seek it out. As whatever is practically possible, whatever, according to the opportunity that you have. Not that you can just run away and follow. There were people, Krishna Prabhu, he told me about that. We never hear about it in the Prabhupada biographies. We never hear that. But Krishna told me there were devotees that they were like independent, and they just followed Prabhupada. They just bought the tickets and flew, and wherever he went, they just rolled up at that temple and just hung around. But they're not. Prabhupada didn't appreciate that. Prabhu Data Desh, Bani Sheba, where the Guru is ordering you to stay and remain, and that's the Guru's business. Not that you just follow around, aimless, just like not doing anything. That is not Sangha. Prabhupada gives example like that. The king may be sitting on the throne, and there may be many cockroaches and other bugs also sitting on the throne with him. But they're not intimate associates. We see in our movement, in our current times in our movement, there are many extremely advanced Vaishnavas, Mahabhagavats, who are extremely deeply empowered by Prabhupada. But when Prabhupada was on the planet, they weren't predominantly in Prabhupada's Vapu Shanga. They were just normal devotees, serving in the temple, pujaris and simple devotees serving in the temple. They weren't particularly prominent in the movement and close to Prabhupada. But it's not close. It's not the physical association that provides intimacy. It's understanding the mission and the mood and surrender to that. Stradavan bhajate jomam mad gatena antar atmana. Mad gatena anta atmana. Stradavan bhajate jomam mad gatena anta atmana. The surrender goes on anta atmana, deep in the heart. It's not just external. Falling down and attending and being there, being seen. No, it's anta atmana. That's where the association is, actually. Anta atmana, deep within the heart. That's where the association and connection. So association. So we take that association. We take that association. I also know other devotees that, I know some devotees, Tamal Krishna Maharaj, he left. I know devotees who initiated just shortly before he left. So they never had extensive personal association, Vapu Shanga, but very intimately connected, and through puja, through hearing, and through the Bani Sheba. Through puja, Guru Puja, you can do Guru Puja. and through and hearing and the Bani Sheba. That is the actual connection. So it's all about association. So we have to seek association, advanced association. That's interesting. They mentioned Jagai Madhai. Jagai Madhai. Hoite koti koti gun. Odhom potit papi ami duijon. We are, koti koti gun means tens and tens of millions of times more degraded than Jagai Madhai. And they discuss how they never associated with low class people. They were addicted to sin, but they never associated with the low class and developed their habit, customs. So in this way they genuinely presented themselves with such humility. Nidra aha vihadaka jivijito cha atanta dino mandarupa shanatano raguyugo shijiva gopalago. Srinivasa Acharya explains that aha, nidra, sleeping, aha, eating, nidra, aha, viharakari, recreation. Eating, sleeping, recreation, bijito. They conquered. In other words, they forgot. They lost interest in. Aniket duha bone joto brikagon ek brike tole ek ratre shayon. One night, ratre shayon, under one tree. Bone joto brikagon, however many trees there are in the forest. Ek ratre ek brike tole ek ratre shayon. Under the tree, at the roots of one tree each night. And then they would go to another tree. Such renunciation is incomparable. It's unbelievable, inconceivable. Could you imagine? You under a tree and then you don't even settle down. There's my tree. You've got the hooks here. I hope I put this here, my little cup here. I do this, no, I do that. Every night under a tree. I mean, the sannyasis, they travel because when you remain in one place, then you become entangled. It's unavoidable. You just gradually, this dushtamon, duskriti, we become, the longer we stay in one place, we become expert in just arranging comforts. That's how the intelligence works. So the satyasi, they keep moving. So what can they do? How can they arrange anything? How can they organize and arrange? They can't. They have to depend on what are the 3 days. What can you arrange in 3 days? They just arrived. So completely dependent on the Lord's mercy and an ideal lifestyle for renunciation, constantly traveling. Especially the young sannyasis with danda, they're meant to be constantly traveling. So they cannot accumulate. They cannot develop a network of comforts in one place. So under a different tree every night. Nidra, aha, viharakadi, vijito. They completely lost interest in eating and sleeping and recreation. Kavi bhakti shastra koraya likon chaitanya kotha shune kavi chaitanya chintan. They were engaged in the bhakti shastra koraya likon, writing the scriptures, bhakti amrita sindhu, ujjala nilamoni, upadeshamrit, Gopal Tapani, writing the bhakti shastras. Kavi Chaitanya Kotha Shune, discussing about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Chintan, and just thinking about the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Writing the books, talking about Lord Chaitanya, thinking about Lord Chaitanya's mission. And this way, the Goswamis, they utilize their time. The other verses there, what is that? Shankya Purvakanam Agana Nati Bi Kala Vashani Krito. Shankya Purvakanam, they chanted on beads, measuring the chanting. Shankya Purvakanam. Kala Nati Bi Gana Nati Bi, chanting, dancing, paying obeisances. Kala Vashani Krito. In this way, they utilize their time, completely occupied in devotional activities. And as a result of that, they lost interest in sense enjoyment. They forgot to eat. They would sleep 1.5 hours a night. They had such taste for writing and discussing. Now we hear these descriptions, Vaishnava Acharya, these descriptions of the 6 Goswamis, we hear that as a role model as a role model. We should understand what is the behavior of the perfected souls. We should understand, not that we're not clear on what is the goal. So as we advance in Krishna consciousness, symptoms will develop where we lose interest in aha nidra bhaya maitun. We lose interest in those things according to the developed taste for serving Krishna. So how does Mahaprabhu respond to this, the way that Rupa and Sanatan introduce themselves? Shuno, Mahaprabhu, Shuni, Mahaprabhu, he hears what they say. Shuni, Mahaprabhu kohe, Shuno, Dabir Kash. He's hearing them, Mahaprabhu, he responds, listen, Dabir Kash, Tumi dui bai mora puraton dash. You two brothers are my eternal servants. Tumi dui bai more paraton dash. You two brothers are my eternal servants. It's very interesting. It's not commented in the purport, but it's like they forgot. What can we say? It's not that they cruised in to Chaitanya, hey, Goshai, hey, it's us. Hey, you're old servants. How are you? Hey, long time no see. Again we meet in this birth. Hey. But actually that's who they were. But they don't think that. They're not thinking like that. It's very fascinating. Mahaprabhu says, you're my eternal servants. Mahaprabhu says that to them. Aj hoite duhanam rup shanaton. Aj hoite duhanam rup shanaton. Today I'm giving you the names Rupa and Shanaton. Prabhupada's commenting, actually this is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's initiation of Dabir Kash and Shakar Malik. And Prabhupada comments that he changed their names. It is essential for a disciple to change his name after initiation. It's essential. And Prabhupada's commenting, he's commenting from the five different, actually this is, he's commenting. There's 5 aspects of initiation: tapa, pundra, nam, mantra and yagya. Pancha shanskar. That is tapa, austerity. Pundra is tilak. Initiated devotees should always wearing tilak. Nam means the name is changed. One is given a name. Mantra, that's Diksha mantras, as distinct from Hare Krishna, which is actually, technically speaking, Hare Krishna mantra is called Nam. That's called Harinam. So mantra is Gayatri, Diksha, mantra. But we say Maha Mantra because Kaviraj Goswami and Ishwar Puri Prabhupada, Murka Tumi Tomar Nahika Baidanta Adika, Krishna Nama Japa Shara, a mantra shar. Krishna Nama mantra japa, Krishna Nama Japa Shara, a mantra shar. The essence of all mantra is Krishna Nama. So therefore we say Maha Mantra. But technically speaking, it's Nam, it's Bhagavan and Nam. So there is the changing of the name and there's giving mantra, and there's 5 things. In ISKCON, these 5 components of initiation are spread over 2 initiations. In the first initiation there's tapa, pundra and nam, and in the second initiation is mantra and yagya, that you can perform the yagya, fire sacrifice. So Prabhupada's commenting that he didn't give mantra. He didn't give mantra. In the Vaishnava, in the Goswami Siddhanta, the mantra initiation is not essential. As we met with, we discussed it. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he didn't initiate any mantra diksha disciples. As the Harinam is beyond that. Harinam encompasses all of that. So you're chanting the Harinam and you're given the name, they're essential. Name change, Prabhupada says name change. It's a great gift, a great treasure. Everyone has received a spiritual name from the bona fide spiritual master. It's a great treasure because it has a big effect on your whole life, on your whole consciousness. Just like this assembly of August Vaishnav Shammelon. How many of you know my legal name? Maybe one or two. Maybe you've seen. Maybe you've seen. You bought some tickets, or you've seen. But we never discuss. We never speak. We're never referred to in that way. Everybody thinks of me as Krishna Das, and they say that. So that has a big effect on the way people interact with you and the way you interact with people. You introduce yourself. They think of you like Krishna Das. It's very powerful when you get the name. I'm very attentive when devotees are initiated. I will never use their non-initiated name again. What is your initiated name? We use that all the time. Even devotees they do not use. In the family, they still call each other by their birth names. And of course you may have your career and this and that, or legal things, okay? You go into that, we're entering the Islamic countries. We don't say, oh no, that's not my name. It's not my real name. My name is this. We don't say that. We use as required. But in the spiritual circles, the spiritual name is a great treasure, a great treasure. So they were given the name. Rupa Mahaprabhu, that's all he did. Of course, he gave the Shiksha. Shiksha is essential, but he changed their names. Prabhupada says it's essential that the disciple's name is changed, and we can understand from our own experience how powerful that is. Now this humility of the Goswamis was so impressive to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It impressed him so much. The verse, I only quoted half of the verse, that Aj hoite tomanam rupshanaton adhanna chara tomadanna fete morman. Now give up your humility, because your humility is breaking my heart. It had a big effect. Tomadanna fete morman is breaking my heart, seeing your humility. It's not artificial humility, it's not that they're just saying that. But they actually believe that, and that Mahaprabhu, his heart is fete morman. In English it's translated to breaking. My heart is breaking seeing you so humble. Prabhupada translates that, fete morman. In other words, it drew the attention of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu significantly, very deeply, that quality. So much so that, we'll project forward a little bit, that subsequently when Gaudhari returned to Jagannath Puri, and he was discussing with Garadha Pandit about his meeting with Rupa and Sanatan. This would have been, it takes 1 month to go from Navadip to Jagannath Puri, and then Navadip to Malda, it's quite a distance, perhaps close to a month also. At least several weeks to go to Ramkeli from Navadip. So to journey back to Puri would have taken 2 months. And still Mahaprabhu is remembering in great detail the humility of Rupa and Sanatan. And he's describing to Garadha Pandit, Bidda Bhakti Bhuti Bale Param Praveen, that in Bidda, in learning, in Bhakti, in devotion, in Buddhi, intelligence, in Bole, in strength, Parama Prabhin, extremely qualified, Parama Prabhin, extremely experienced. In other words, he's saying these two brothers are extremely intelligent, extremely learned, extremely devoted, and extremely powerful. And yet, Tobu Apaneke Mone Trinno Hoite Hin, they consider themselves to be less than the grass in the street. So we may be, we try to be humble, develop the qualification of humility. Actually, it's not very difficult when we're so unqualified. Jogeta bichar kichu nahi pai. Jogeta bichar kichu nahi pai. When I examine myself, I find nothing of value. Jogeta bichar kichu nahi pai. Toma kurunashar. Your mercy is everything. So when we examine ourselves, it's not difficult to become humble. We're so black, so full of material contamination, and so unqualified, and so lazy and useless and neglectful of all aspects of devotional life. Isn't it very easy to become humble when you evaluate yourself? But when you're so qualified, He was learned, speaking so many languages. So you're the government minister, the prime minister, and you're also a great devotee, and you're also an eternal associate, an eternally liberated soul. Then it's not so easy to be humble, but it's a natural qualification. Just like the Mahaprabhu gives the example, actually it's with Keshav Kashmiri, and he cruised into Navadip on an elephant with the procession, the play and horses, and he's riding on the elephant. He conquered all the scholars. He was so proud. The Saraswati Devi would appear on his tongue whenever he spoke. Would that not make you proud? Yeah. He spoke with such elegance. Spontaneously, he was requested by Nimai Pandit to compose some glorification of Ma Ganga, and immediately, without any preparation, 100 verses from his, and the students of Sachinanda, their mouths just dropped agape. They'd never heard such poetry. They'd never heard such expert intellect and poetic skill. They'd never heard. And he was so proud. And Mahaprabhu was commenting that actually that the tree laden with fruit hangs low. The tree laden with fruit hangs low. So the more one advances in spiritual life and develops transcendental qualities, the more humble one becomes. And that quality is very much attractive to Goshandor. So much so that he's meditating on it for 2 months as he's coming back, and as soon as he gets a chance, he starts talking about it to Garadha Pandit. That these men, they're so highly qualified in all aspects, but they genuinely think themselves to be so unqualified. And therefore, tar danna dekhe shune prashanne bidore, hearing and understanding their humility, it can melt stone. Ami tushta hoy tobe kohilon tohare. Ami tushta hoy. I became satisfied. So try to develop this quality, and even though we may be so wonderful in our character as a result of associating with the Vaishnavas and the holy name, but cultivating genuine humility and always behaving in a way, consider amanina manadaina. Amanina manadaina means that not expecting people to respect me. I'm cruising in, hey, it's me, come on, where is this, where is that? Not expecting respect and being willing and prepared and to offer all respect to others. Kirtaniya Shadahari. This will give you attachment to the holy name. Mahaprabhu says, Ami tushta hoy. I became pleased, I became satisfied. Ami tushta. Tushto. I was very pleased, Prabhupada translates, I was very pleased. Ami tushta hoy. And therefore I instructed them. Tomar ridoy ami jani patra dware. Tomashik aite. Shlok patailo tomare. I understand. But there was some correspondence. There was correspondence before the meeting. There was correspondence. They were writing letters. I guess there was no government postal service 500 years ago, but there would have been that Brahmins would take letters. Just like one qualified Brahmin took the letter of Rukmini to Dwarkadish, is it not? So the correspondence will be sent by messengers. Sent by messages. Just like when after this incident Mahaprabhu returned to Puri, Rupa and Sanatan, they sent Brahmins to Jagannath Puri to find out when Mahaprabhu will actually journey to Vrindavan. And those Brahmins, they went to, there was no messenger, telex, fax, telephone, WhatsApp, nothing. It sent Brahmins. And those Brahmins, they arrived in Jagannath Puri, and Goshundar had already left. So then immediately they got that news, and immediately they retired from the government, so Rupa Goswami. So there was some correspondence. It says patra dware, means through letters. It's correspondence. And tomar shikaite shlok patailo tomare. I instructed you with a sloka, The sloka is that if the woman is attached to a paramour, a man who's not the husband, then she becomes more diligent in the household affairs so that no one will suspect her. So it's not that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is promoting illicit relation, but it is an analogy that you have attachment to me, and then you have your materialistic entanglement and obligations. So don't act in such a way now that people suspect that you have this internal attachment to me. But you should become more diligent in the external activities, and within cultivate attachment to me. And in this way, very quickly, Krishna will reciprocate and deliver you. So, now back to the conversation in Ram Kelly. And Mahaprabhu begins to explain that actually I have only Gauda Nikat Aishte Nahi Mor Prayojan. I had no reason to come to the edge of Bengal. Gauda Nikat Aishte Nahi Mor Prayojan. I had no need to come here. Tomar Duha Dekite Mor Ihan Gamon. I've come here just to see you too, brothers. Now that's quite interesting, because from different perspectives, this trip to Gaudadesh, Goshundur, he comments on his reasons for going to Gaudadesh. He comments on that from different perspectives. Just like to Ramananda Roy and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he explained that Gaudadeshe hoy mor dui shamasrai janani janubi. I have two shelters in Gaudadesh, Janani Janubi, my mother and Ma Ganga. So I will go to associate with Ma Ganga, Sachimata, and Gauda Bhaktagon. For that reason I'm going. So one time he gives that reason to Sarvabhauma and Ramananda Roy. He says, more prayojan nai, I had no reason to come here except to see you two brothers. And then later, a little later, we may discuss today, maybe tomorrow, he gives another reason for coming. We'll discuss that a little later. And then he says very clearly to the Goswamis, in other words, again, we're explaining that, we're commenting that there's no purports. We're commenting that Mahaprabhu is reminding them of their eternal Swarup, which, what can we say? What can we say? Whether they just be so, whether they were, it's like Leela. And these great souls, Thakur Bhaktivinoda, he's also Kamal Manjari, and he was doing so many things, researching so many things, Christianity and Brahmanism and so many things. He couldn't understand Srimad Bhagavatam, he says. I couldn't understand Srimad Bhagavatam. He's Kamal Manjari. He says, I didn't understand Srimad Bhagavatam until I acquired Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. And just consider, Vaishnava Mandali, what ISKCON has done, what Srila Prabhupada has done, that in Bengal, 150 years ago, where Kaviraj Goswami, he wrote the Bengali, the greatest Bengali medieval Bhakti Shastra, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. And Thakur Bhaktivinoda, he could not find a copy. And he was a senior member of the government and aristocrat and in the circle of intellectuals in Bengal, respected author. Even before writing his books on Krishna consciousness, Thakur Bhaktivinoda was writing literatures which were accepted in the world academically. He wrote a literature, a compilation of all of the ashrams in Orissa. Thakur Bhaktivinoda wrote books in regard the women's rights in Bengal village society to protect the rights of women. Thakur Bhaktivinoda wrote books about that, where there was injustice and persecution against the women class. He wrote books, or at least one book about that. And he didn't understand Srimad Bhagavatam. And he's Kamal Manjari. Just how do we understand that? And he mentions that only when he found Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. I visited that city, that's in Bangladesh, Dinajpur, where Thakur Bhaktivinoda was the magistrate, and where he found where he got a handwritten copy of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. So even such an aristocrat and intellect and poet struggled to find Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. And now we're putting into the hands of people and distributing abundantly. I remember there was one Prabhupada marathon. I was in Melbourne, and we distributed all the books. We distributed all the books in the go down, the last day, last afternoon. No books left. No books left. That's a little bit of mismanagement, actually. No books left. So I went back to the ashram. I went back to the ashram, and I got my own copy of the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, the 10 volumes, and I took that on the street, and I sold them all. And people walking down the street, and I'm giving them Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Here, as a result of Prabhupada's potency and kripa, you can walking down the street and you're given Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, and you have no qualification, and you have no eligibility to get such a treasure. And Thakur Bhaktivinoda, he's so highly qualified, and he's seeking here and there, he couldn't find. Just see what His Divine Grace has done for humanity. Is there any comparison in terms of a welfare worker for humanity to His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki? So Mahaprabhu says, Janme janme tumi duha, kinkar amar, life after life you are my servants. He says to them, Janme janme tumi duha, kinkar amar, achirate Krishna tomar, koribe udar. Very quickly, Krishna will deliver you. Because you are my eternal servants, and you have such quality of humility, very quickly Krishna. Eta boli duhar shide doril duhahate. Dorilo duihate. Eta boli duhar shide dorila duihate. Saying this, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he placed his hands on the heads of Rupa and Sanatan. Duibai Prabhu Pade Nilo Nijanamate. And the two brothers, they clasped the lotus feet of Gaushundar, and they put his lotus feet on his head, on their heads. So it seems that this also is authorized behavior, that if you're close enough to the Guru, then you can grab his lotus feet and put them on your head, following in the footsteps of Rupa and Sanatan. After that, Gaushundar, he embraced Rupa and Sanatan. Now, this is going on, this whole discussion, it wasn't private. This was in the midst of all of Mahaprabhu's associates, where he was staying. Haridas Thakur, Nityananda Prabhu, Mukunda Datta, Shrivash Thakur, Bhakresha Pandit, so many devotees that accompanied him. All the devotees are there. So how did what were they thinking, seeing this interaction with Gaushundar and Rupa and Sanatan? Were they thinking, who are these guys? And they just rolled in, and we never heard of them before. And Gaushundar is embracing them. He doesn't embrace me, and he's put his feet on their heads. Who are these guys? And were they thinking like that? Dui jane Prabhur kripa deki bhaktagon. Dui jane Prabhur kripa deki bhaktagone. When the devotees saw the mercy that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was bestowing upon these two brothers, Hari Hari bole shabai anandito mone. Shabai anandito mone, with great ecstasy, Hari Hari bole, Hari Hari bole, Hari Hari, Hari Hari, anandito mone, in great ecstasy, in great ecstasy. So sometimes we see the great acharyas, they bestow mercy upon the sincere servants. It is exhilarating. We're not feeling envy, or we're feeling great happiness seeing the mercy, because it's unlimited. It's unlimited. It's not that there won't be any mercy for us. No, we can clasp their lotus feet and we'll also get that nectar and serve them. Who was there at the time? What special associates of the Lord were there witnessing this interaction? Nityananda Haridash, Sribash Gadadhar, Mukunda, Jagadananda, Murari Bakreshar, yes. Shabai. And then, okay, so they're all chanting Hari Hari, seeing the mercy that Mahaprabhu bestowed upon them. And then, Prabhupada translates, in accordance with the instructions of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the two brothers, Rupa and Sanatan, immediately touched the lotus feet of all these Vaishnavas. Shabai Charane Dori, Pore Dui Bhai, Shabai Charane Dori. They took the dust of all of these Vaishnavas. Shabai Bale, Dhanna Tumi, Pailo Goshai. And everyone said, Dhanna Tumi, you're so blessed. Pailo Goshai, because you've attained shelter at the lotus feet of Gauranga, Goshai, Prabhu. So now that's it, this interaction, how long that went for, perhaps half an hour or so, maybe a little longer, half an hour, in the middle of the night. And then they're about to depart. And then very interesting that this is it's another aspect of humility. We wouldn't do such a thing, perhaps because we're attached to our persona, we're attached to our reputation, we're attached to our identity. We wouldn't take such a risk. But Sanatana Goswami, they just met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's bestowed so much mercy upon them, and then Sanatana Goswami, he offers a suggestion. He offers advice. He offers advice. Why I'm saying that's manifestation of humility, because it's service. It's service. It's service. So he's so experienced in the region, but it's not just a regional issue. He's explaining about Mahaprabhu carrying on to Vrindavan. First of all, he mentions that, yes, this Nawab, he has demonstrated respect for you, but we recommend that you leave this place now, because he belongs to the Jabon class, and he can't be trusted, and his mind may change. And then, so okay, that's a circumstantial advice, which is reasonable. But then he says that we feel that it's not required that you carry on to Vrindavan with such a large entourage. And he says, Sanatana Goswami says, Jar Shonge Chole, E Lok Lokakoti. The one who goes to Vrindavan, Jar Shonge Chole, E Lokalok, Shonge, with tens and thousands of millions of people, Vrindavan, Jatrara Nahi Padi Padi. This is not the way to go to Vrindavan. So in the purport to that, Srila Prabhupada mentions that Shishi Radha Madhav ki, Shishi Nitai Gaushundar ki, Jagannath Baladev Shabhadra Maharani ki. He mentions that Prabhupada in his purport, he mentions that doing Tirtha Jatra for business, a very lucrative business, Prabhupada says, is a very lucrative business, taking large crowds to different places of pilgrimage and collecting money from them. It's a very lucrative business. So, in the presence of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Rupa and Sanatana disapproved of such crowded pilgrimages. So we may take many devotees on the Tirtha Jatra, but we should make it, the cost should be very economical. In other words, you cover the travel expense, the room accommodation, and the prasadam, and we shouldn't make it a profit generating venture. It's not approved by the Goswamis or Srila Prabhupada. So he said that, that's all. And it wasn't discussed. Mahaprabhu didn't say anything. Mahaprabhu didn't say anything. There was no further discussion. There was no question. There was no further elucidation or no further clarification. There's no discussion. Eta boli charan bondi gelo dui jon. So saying this, charan bondi, paying obeisances, the two brothers left. Prabhu she gram hoite cholite hoilomon. Yes, I admit I enjoy so much the Bengali verse because it's full of the rasha, it's full of the emotion. Prabhu she gram hoite cholite hoilomon. Means that to leave that place, Mahaprabhu, he began to consider to leaving that place. The whole concept, the whole mood, the whole scene in the Bangla Bhasha, in the words, it is the impression is so nectarian. In the poetry of Kaviraj Goswami, he makes you feel the experience of the mood of Mahaprabhu at that time. You can feel his mind. Eta boli charan bondi gelo dui jon Prabhu she gram hoite cholite hoilomon. They're like put together. The two brothers left, and then Mahaprabhu, he began to think, now it's time to leave that place. He desired to leave that village, Prabhupada translates. Cholite hoilomon, he desired to leave that village. Because that indicates that his purpose of going there had been fulfilled. His purpose of going there had been fulfilled. But Shachinandan, he didn't immediately return to Jagannath Puri. He carried on some time. To Kanai Natashala. Who's been to Kanai Natashala? Yes, I wasn't expecting anyone. It's not an easy place to get to. Even from Ramkelly, from Melda, from the town, it's a day journey. You have to go across the Ganga. Ganga is very big there. You can't see the other side. 2-3 hours in the boat. And then you come to Kanai Natashala. It's like a little mountain, like a small mountain on the banks of Ganga. Very difficult to get to. We have our ISKCON project there. Kanai Natashala, basically it means ISKCON. The whole area known as Kanai Natashala. ISKCON is right in the center. ISKCON is the main. ISKCON is everything there. Kanai Natashala. We have a small project there, guest house. A beautiful place on the bank of Ganga. It's so beautiful. His Holiness Sachinandan Maharaj, he secretly goes there on occasion and spends time there and does bhajan. And that place, significant importance in Mahaprabhu's pastimes. When he was returning from Gaya, he went across Ganga at that place, from Bihar into Bengal at Kanai Natashala. And there he saw directly many pastimes of Shamsundar, Bangshidari. In the mood of Bhakta Rupa, he's seeing these pastimes of the Lord. And the full manifestation of love of Godhead erupted in the person of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he reached Kanai Natashala after the initiation in Gaya. And now again Mahaprabhu is going to Kanai Natashala again. So it seems that he accepted the advice of Sanatana Goswami, but he'd come so close to Kanai Natashala that he carried on to Kanai Natashala again to visit that place before deciding to return to Jagannath Puri. So in Kanai Natashala, the next morning, Mahaprabhu began to think, Bhalo to kohilo. It was good what he said. Bhalo to kohilo. It was good what Sanatana Goswami said. More eta lok shonge, lok deke kohibe more eta dhange. To go to Vrindavan with such a crowd, people will think that I am not a genuine renunciate. They will rebuke me, saying, here is another impostor. I was going to Vrindavan like a magician with his show, with soldiers and the beating of drums. Fie on me, fie on me. That's something we don't hear so much in English these days. Fie on me. It's traditional, high English, poetic English. Fie on me. It's for poetic. Prabhupada English. Prabhupada was Scottish Church College English. The most eloquent English poets, writers Prabhupada studied. Fie on me. It's poetic. English poetry. Fie on me. Durlab Durgam She Nirjan Brindaban. She Nirjan Brindaban. Durlab, that Brindavan which is difficult to attain. Durlab Durgama. Nirjan, that solitary place, Brindaban. Ekaki jaibo kiba shange ekjon. Ekaki jaibo, I will go alone. Ekaki jaibo kiba shange ekjon. Or I will take with me one person. And subsequently, Goshundor, he does take with him one person and another assistant. Who is that one person? Who can say? Balabhadra Bhattacharya. And upon returning to Puri, Goshundor, he didn't remain very long. In fact, it's mentioned in different places, it says sometime, but Kaviraj Goswami says just a few days. Upon returning to Jagannath Puri, again he came back. I'll read the next verse. Eta chinta protakale gangashnan kore, thinking this, eta chinta protakale, in the morning time, gangashnan kori, taking bath in Ma Ganga, nila chal jabo bholi cholila gauda hari, nila chal jabo. So that thinking that, in the night, thinking that it was good what Sanatana Goswami said. I shouldn't go with the band and the musician show and the soldiers and the fie on me. I will go alone or with one person. Thinking that, but he didn't mention that. And then the next morning, taking his bath in Ma Ganga at that place, Kananatashala, I prayed perhaps one day we could visit together. That would be my great honor to be able to discuss with you the pastimes of Goshundor in Kananatasala, and we could take bath. It's the bath, I went there, it took us 3-4 hours to get there, and we left the same day. We were only there for an hour. We took bath. I missed the program, I was taking bath. Came out and everything was finished. So we take bath there, spend some time there, at least spend one night there. Take bath, but bathing there is a very beautiful. Ma Ganga, she's so peaceful, tranquil, merciful. If I can awaken in you a desire to take bath in Ma Ganga in Kananatashala, my visit to Attapur, Hyderabad ISKCON temple will be perfect. So he decided to Etabali Swatantra Paramananda Roy, Swatantra Paramananda, this supreme independent Swatantra Paramananda Roy, Supreme Lord Paramananda Roy, Cholila Dokin Mukhe Kirtan Lilai. He began his journey in the southern direction, Dokin Mukhe, Kirtan Lilai, performing kirtan with his devotees. And again, he announced, we're going to Nilachal. Suddenly he announced, we're going to Nilachal. And taking his devotees with him, he began kirtan and headed in the direction of Jagannath Puri. Maybe I'll say this now, we've got 5 minutes. So he returned back. On the way back, he again stayed in Shantipur. At that time, Raghunath Das Goswami came. Raghunath Das Goswami came and spent the week with Goshundor. And then the Leela that we hear, how he again went home, and he was leaving home every night, trying to escape and being captured and brought back. And eventually Nityananda Prabhu came and he organized a Chira Dahi Mahotsav, and in this way Mahaprabhu came from Jagannath Puri and was able, in the subtle form, no one could see, a few people could see. So that event happened after. And then Mahaprabhu taking Balabhadra Bhattacharya and one assistant Brahmin, he left Jagannath Puri in the middle of the night and headed directly in the direction of Vrindavan, which meant he went through Jharkhand, which was an undeveloped jungle, Jharkhand forest. So as he's going through the Jharkhand forest in the remote jungle, with Balabhadra Bhattacharya is collecting the shak, the wild vegetables growing in the forest. He would keep enough grains for 2 days. There were some tribal people living here and there. He would get grains, beg grains, and keep a bag of grains. They would make a fire in the morning. They would cook. Mahaprabhu would take bath in the rivers and the waterfalls and heat himself with the fire in the morning and in the evening. Niranta prema beshe nirjan gamon shuka anubhabi prabhu kohen bochon. Mahaprabhu enjoyed that solitary journey through the jungle. Niranta prema beshe nirjan gamon, traveling alone through the forest. Shuki anubhabi. He became so happy. Shuki anubhabi. Prabhu kohen bochon, he said, Krishna kripalu amai bahut kripa koilo. Krishna is so merciful. He's showed so much mercy to me. Bon pote ani amar boro shuka dilo. Giving me this opportunity to come through the jungle is giving me great happiness. In this quiet, natural place, the rivers, fresh, the cooking. He said that my intention was to go to Vrindavan via Bengal, taking the Bengali devotees with me. Bhaktagon Shange Abashai Koribe Milon. Certainly I will go to Bengal, meet with all of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, Bhaktagon Shange Lao Jabo Vrindavan, and taking all of the Bengali devotees I will go to Vrindavan. That was my plan. Eta Babi Gauda Deshe Korilon Gamon. Thinking this, I went to Bengal. Mata Ganga Bhakta Deki Shuki Hoilomon. Mata, Sachi Mata, Ganga, Ma Ganga, Bhakta, all the devotees, Deki Shukka Hoilomon. I became so happy seeing Ma Ganga, Sachi Mata, and all the devotees. But when I was beginning to go for Vrindavan, many thousands of people were following me. Shanatan Mukhe Krishna Amar Shakilo, Amar Shikailo. Through the lips of Sanatan Goswami, Krishna taught me a lesson. Taha Bigna Kore Bon Pot Lail Ailo. So Mahaprabhu is saying now that my journey to Bengal was that so many people would come, and that was an impediment. I would change my mind and then go through the forest, which I'm enjoying so much. So one time he says it's to see Ma Ganga and the devotees and Sachimata. Another time he says that, it's only to see you, Rupa and Sanatan, and deliver you. And now he says the whole project was just to give me an opportunity to go through the jungle, which I'm enjoying so much. So the conclusion is, whatever situation we're in, we see it as Krishna's mercy, and we're very satisfied with the arrangement, from whatever angle. Kripa Samudra Dinahin Doyamoy. Krishna Kripa Bina Kanashuka Nahi Hoy. In this way, Krishna is an ocean of mercy. Without Krishna's mercy, there is no possibility of happiness. So what happened after this? After Chaitanya Mahaprabhu returned to Jagannath Puri, went to Vrindavan, Rupa and Sanatan, what they did, we'll carry on and discuss tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock. And then again, if you're not here then, you come at 11. We probably won't get so far. Even if you come at 11, you'll pick up the thread. And again tomorrow afternoon. Shabai nimontrito. You're all invited. Srila Prabhupada ki, Shamaveda Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki, Tulashi Maharani ki.